It is Thursday, December 17th of 2020. And my, oh my, what a tangled web we weave when we pay other people or other people pay from us to try and deceive. Probably the worst intro ever for Guy's Daily Drive. Bam! And welcome everyone to Guy's Daily Drive. You know, sometimes I struggle for something to talk about. This is not one of those days. I've got two things I'm going to talk about today. First off, my son Peter is looking for a car. Because the car he has a Volkswagen Passat, 2008 Volkswagen Passat, and it was having some issues, so he took it into a mechanic, and you know, they did a diagnostic, and the mechanic came out, and he basically said, well, how attached are you to this car? That is not a good thing for a mechanic to tell you when he comes out to tell you what's possibly wrong with your car. There was just a litany of issues with this Volkswagen. And I've had my own issues with newer Volkswagens. Maybe someday I'll revisit the story of the orange 2003 Beetle that was too good to be true, because it was too good to be true. Or wasn't good enough. Anyway, so he has to look for a new car, and he's never really gone out and done the whole shopping experience when it comes to cars. So he's a little nervous. The car he currently has, he got secondhand from somebody he knows. So he's never had to deal with it before. So we got together last night virtually, and we talked, and we went on to a great site to look around for cars is Car Gurus. They're not a sponsor, but I have used them many times in the past. CarGurus.com. So they were looking at Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, Nissan, and there was one more, and I can't remember what it was, but it was basically 5 different automotive companies. He was hoping to do under $10,000, but I think I've dissuaded him of that. It's like, if you're going to buy a car and you plan on keeping that car for a while, an under $10,000 car is probably not going to be your best decision. But we called around, and he looking at a Kia Forte, and it looks nice, but we'll have to go and check it out to see if it is nice. Then there was also a Nissan, I think it's a Sentra SV, basically a brand new car. It had excuse me, under 1,000 miles on it. The dealership had changed hands like over the last 2 weeks. So from what they were telling me, and I don't know how much of this is real, they were telling me that because the previous dealership had owned these cars, that some of them, this was 2019, some of them can't be sold as new, even though they basically are, because the dealer owned them. I said, okay. But hell of a deal, you know. I mean, this is a car with under 1,000 miles with a price tag of roughly 15,000, 15.5, which is pretty amazing, especially for a Nissan. However, he doesn't want to spend that much, so that, even though it's really kind of a good deal, he may pass on that. So we're, basically on Saturday we're going to get together and we're going to visit a couple dealerships and see what happens. And the thing I have to dissuade him of, if there's a car that he sees that he really likes, he may be like, okay, let's just do the paperwork. He's like, no, let's calm down. Let's go to at least one more place, take a look around, and make up our minds then. Because if you have a working car, and he basically does, you can always walk away. That is the time to buy a car, when you don't need to buy a car. So, there's that. That's what I'm doing on Saturday. It'll be fun. Now, the other thing is there's an ongoing little feud with Facebook and Apple. And a common theme that I've talked about in almost all of the podcasts that I do, and it's not original with me, but it certainly does ring true, is if you're not spending money on the product, it's because you are the product. And in a world where the new currency is data, is how much companies know about you, how much they can target advertising towards you to get you to spend money on their preferred company vendors, manufacturers. And the two companies that are kind of the most egregious, in my opinion, with this is Google and Facebook. Now, they both offer free services, many free services, especially Google. And I use those services, knowing full well that anything I use those services for is going to be turned around and used, not against me, I'm not going to go that far, but it is used to build a profile on me and what I do and how I shop and all the rest of that. And they have various tricks for doing this. The most egregious of them all, in my opinion, are trackers. And what these trackers do, sometimes they're also called cookies, and they got different kinds of names. But what they do is you go to a website and you go and you go to CNN or Fox or whatever your preferred news site is. And the moment you go there are any number of trackers that are put onto your browsing session. That browsing session, when you leave CNN or Fox and go someplace else, says, where did Guy go to after this? And then they know that because the tracker is following you in your session to wherever it is you go. And in your search, maybe you look up slippers. You want to find a new pair of fuzzy slippers with little elf ears on them because, you're that kind of person. So, all of a sudden, you go to Facebook or Amazon or some other shopping site, doesn't really matter where, and you see in the sidebar, suddenly, lo and behold, there's a link to fuzzy elf ear warm slippers. How did they know? They knew because you told them with all of these trackers. And these trackers can be very invasive. And it's usually not just one tracker. Like if you use Safari on your Mac and you hit there's this little icon that looks like a shield, you can see how many trackers are on that site that are going to be following you around for a little bit. And if you can actually get like a little report on them, what they're called. You won't necessarily know where they're from, but you can see what they're called. And if you want, you can also block those trackers using Safari. Not so much Chrome, but Safari. You know, Google isn't going to give you a tracker blocker because that's how they make their money. They give you a browser for free. They give you an online office suite for free. They give you maps. They give you some storage, all kinds of stuff for free. But it's not free because what you're doing while you're doing all these free things is how Google is paid by all these other companies, and that's how they make their money. So they're not going to stop doing that. That's not going to happen. So, but what Facebook is upset about is in the latest version of the Mac OS 11, Big Sur, and the latest version of Safari, you can opt out of a lot of the things that Facebook does, and probably Google as well, so that you don't get tracked, you don't get targeted ads, you don't get all this stuff. Well, that makes Facebook unhappy because that's how they make their money. That's how they make their money. You think Facebook is free out of the kindness of their hearts? No, of course not. Having billions of people using lots of data, that's costly. So what Facebook has done is, in the last 2 days, I think, they've taken out full-page ads in major newspapers talking about how Apple is terrible because, and they're against small business because small business rely on, you know, these kinds of targeted ads to stay afloat. And if something isn't done about it, the free internet that we know of is going to go away. Without ever really mentioning that they're the ones that are doing all the tracking, and they're the ones really making the lion's share of the money from these targeted ads. They make a lot of money doing this, and Apple is saying, no, we're not going to let you do that to Mac users. So Facebook is unhappy. And then, so yeah, that's the two tracks they've taken. Apple is anti-business, anti-small business, small business. And Apple wants to destroy the free internet. Okay, well, here's the thing. Since Apple has started doing these kinds of things, and it kind of started rolling with previous versions of the operating system, I've noticed that a lot of the websites that I go to, Forbes, Business Insider, a bunch of others, come up with a pop-up when I go to their sites saying, we're not going to let you see this content unless you turn off your ad blocker. To which I then say, okay, I don't need to see your content that badly. And I leave the site. My decision. My decision. You can make up your own mind. As I said, I use Google. I use their services, and I know what it is they're doing, and that's okay. Again, my decision on whatever it is that I'm doing online, not someone else's. So Facebook, now I'm, of course, the irony is, of course, I'm doing Guy's Daily Drive live on Facebook. And I appreciate the fact that they provide this platform for me to do Guy's Daily Drive live. That's fantastic. I really, really do like that. But I'm not giving up my rights as a consumer, as a person, so that you can make money off of me and my data. I'll make that decision, Facebook. Thank you very much. And if for some reason I can no longer do Guy's Daily Drive live on Facebook or Mac to the Future Go live, which we did last night, then okay, so be it. I will find other venues in which to put out my content. Maybe it won't be as popular. Maybe eventually it will. I don't know. But it's going to be my decision. Not yours, not Google's, not Facebook's, not YouTube's. My decision. Okay, off the soapbox. If you'd like to get a hold of me, Guy at MyMac.com. Also, I am Mac Parrot and VertShark over there on the Twitters. VertShark.com is the website. If you'd like to help me pay for all the things that I do,